trying to involve and stuff, but not overwhelm.
Yeah, right. Well,
Yeah.
it's familiar with this.
Well, like the biggest benefit right out of the gate is going to be the new voting equipment.
Right.
Being able to navigate through that whole process, because that's her world. So that's great.
It's just, yeah, you don't have to undo words.
No, so it's like next week, we're gonna have a phone call with our budget rep with her, so they can kind of get her up to speed on some of those types of things. It's good.
I'll talk to you. Did you know what color carpeting is?
I have a square in my office. I can see.
What is it? What color is it?
It's a bunch of flex. It's got multiple colors in it. They're
It's not
square.
pink.
No, it's not pink.
And how did you guys pick the color? Or they just give it to you?
The county had, there was this whatever this type of carpeting is, I think there was like 3 options to choose from.
Mhm.
And no, it did not go to the vote of the big people. It was, or the, kind of looked at it like, so we went over to the Justice Center. I walked a couple floors where they had the different colors installed, so you can kind of see it in a bigger application. And this one seemed to be pretty, in a lot of ways.
Neutral.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm here.
Yeah. Some things you have to keep tighter, because otherwise you're never.
Hi, Lisa. How are you? Oh, these chairs.
I know, they get a little stuck, don't they?
Shitty plastic.
Yeah, right, to roll on out.
Yeah. Really? They're an arm.
Morning,
Hey,
Lisa.
good morning, how are you?
They're an arm.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming on Thursday, September 1st. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Note that all board members are present with the exception of Ms. Ina Jo Davis Chappelle, and I will thank you. Thank you, Skip. I will move to excuse her absence. Is a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion
Sorry.
passes.
That's all right.
I will, do you want to tee that up, Mr. Cleary, our first agenda item? Certification of the automatic recount from the August 2nd, 2022 primary election for State Central Committee District 24 Democrat mayor.
Brian Clary, manager, ballot department. On Tuesday of this week, we performed an automatic recount for the member of State Central Committee, man, 24th district for the Democrats. There were a total of 16,004 ballots cast in that race. We randomly selected 8 precincts, totaling 878 total ballots, or 5.4% of the total ballots cast. The 8 precincts are listed below. We hand counted those 8 precincts, and then scanned those 8 precincts. They matched. So then we took the remaining 94.6% of the election, and we ran those through our tabulators, and we compared that to the official canvas, and it matched as well. So nothing changed from the official canvas to the recount.
Do we notify the candidates there, or does?
We notified them that the recount was going on. Once we certify this, we will post it on the website for them to know that no change to the official canvas.
All right, and so nothing changed and the count was accurate. I will move to certify the automatic recount from the August 2nd, 2022 primary election for the State Central Committee District 24 Democrat male. If there's a second.
Second.
Thank you. Any question or comment from Mr. Cleary? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Cleary. We're on to the next item. Mr. Lawler, do you want to tee that up for us, or is there need to? That's the certification of East Cleveland Member of Council Ward 3 recall election issue, establishing said recall election at the November 8th, 2022 general election. I think there are some individuals here that want to be heard on that. Is that correct?
Yes. Okay, and if you want, I can just, pursuant to the East Cleveland Charter, petitions were circulated. We reviewed those signatures. We did give that back to the clerk. There were sufficient signatures for Ward 3 councilperson Ernest Smith to be recalled. At the conclusion of the 5-day window in which he has the opportunity to resign, their charter. We kind of went through this with the mayor, sets the window for an election to happen. But that window, in that window, if there is a general election, that's when the election would be, based on that period of time. Just like with the previous, the November 8th general election falls within the window. Therefore, that's when the election is set. And that's how that date came about. And so what we're doing at this point, like I said, is just acknowledging that and setting it for the November 8th election.
Okay, so there are a number of three individuals, I believe, Ms. Davis, Mr. Johnson, and Councilman Smith that would like to speak in that. Is that correct? Okay, so we'll take your comments now. If you'd like to come up one at a time and to be heard in this, you're permitted to up to 5 minutes a comment. Okay, we're going to keep track of that. You don't have to spend all 5 minutes on there, but once you reach that point, I'll remind you. And we're here to simply, yes, your name, address, please.
My name is Angela Davis. My address is, oh Lord, I'm sorry. My address is 2826 Division Avenue, Apartment B, Unit 634, Cleveland, Ohio, 44113.
Okay, are you to offer some comment?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm here to ask you all not to let this motion go forward against Councilman Ernest Smith. He is the only councilman that as a community activist, when there's anything going on in East Cleveland, he is the only council person that will pick up his phone, offer to assist me, provide solutions, and anything else that I need. There have been murders. My mom used to live in East Cleveland. Her house was full of rodents. I called the councilwoman. She didn't respond. I called Councilman Ernest Smith. He immediately brought me mouse traps and had a exterminator to come out and get rid of the rodents in my mom's house. My mother then had raccoons up in her attic. I called Councilwoman Korean Stevenson and asked her to do something about it. She did nothing. I called Councilman Ernest Smith. He immediately sent the pest control man over there to get the raccoons out of my mother's attic. I'm asking you all to please dismiss this charge against Councilman Ernest Smith, because if East Cleveland loses Councilman Ernest Smith, we might as well just get rid of that city because they have no other leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. I appreciate you coming down and sharing your thoughts with the board. Who do we have next? Is that Mr. Johnson? Come on up, Mr. Johnson. Why don't you just tell us your name for the record and your address, sir?
Yes, my name is Christopher Johnson, 3280 East 134th Street, Cleveland, Ohio, 44120.
Yes, sir. What would you like to tell the board?
Board about this man, Ernest L. Smith. I've been with him in this organization, Oppressed People's Nation, since 2011. And since then, all this man has done is for the people. Countless food drives, clothing giveaways. Every year you do a turkey drive and feed the people of East Cleveland that can come up to the community center to get fed. Every Christmas, he's giving toys away for the children. Every Easter, every holiday, he's done something for the community of East Cleveland. And this is before he even becomes councilman. Okay, so becomes councilman. Our organization put forth the manpower and footwork to get to be councilman. He's councilman now. All I hear in East Cleveland is positive things about Ernest L. Smith, and this even outside his ward. In this ward, people praise him as being a great councilman. Great. I go to the council meetings. From everybody else, it's just like this man. He's the one that's cool, calm, collected, in order, and speak for the people. He's not speaking for himself. He's speaking for the people and the needs of the people of East Cleveland. So when I heard about this recall, it was just hogwash to me. But yeah, people pushing the envelope. So this is why I'm here, because no, he is the only leadership in East Cleveland outside the mayor. You know what I mean? Everyone else is in it for partial gain. He's in it for the people. As we've been these past 14 years of oppressed people's nation. As he's been, always for the people. That's how I know him. Just on his birthday. This time recent, his birthday was August 28th, right? What he did for his birthday was give to the people. That's all he did, was give to the people. Big old block party, you know what I'm saying? Bouncy houses, barbecue for the kids, vendors, fire trucks, DJs. It was 5 DJs. Pet zoo. It was just so much stuff. Oh, and the book bags. Not forget the book bags. This is what he do every year for his birthday. Back to school, you know what I'm saying? A little thing for the kids. Give away school supplies, book bags, so forth and so on. But the book bags and those children faces, just knowing and going to receive their book bags, it was just heart melting. And like myself, I'm trying to keep myself from choking up. I'm talking about my big bro, and that's not just why I'm up here, because he's my big bro. He earned to be my big bro. For me to even say that, for me to call anyone my big brother, they have to earn it. You know what I mean? And he's earned it 10 times over. Okay? So the recall on Mr. Smith is hogwash. Y'all should just be like, oh, ball it up, throw it away. You know what I mean? Because it's not benefiting the city of East Cleveland to have him recall. East Cleveland to go to the pits. Cleveland have to get him. Or some Cleveland Heights, Cleveland have to get him. Because the city will go to dismay without Ernest L. Smith. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Appreciate you taking time out to come down and talk to us. Mr. Smith,
Yes, sir.
you have the podium, sir.
Morning, board.
Morning.
Honored to be here this morning, although I wish it was under different circumstances. I really came this morning with no real expectations. I really don't know how this go. I'm new to this. I wanted to come down and a couple of good colleagues wanted to come down and give a word to you all, but what I want to put on the record is the underhanded tactics that these 6 people, this is not a community effort to recall me. This is a 6 politicians, people who have inspirations of becoming the mayor, just ran for mayor and lost in the mayor's race. I just get right to it. They're being led by a woman abuser that I have pictures of, that this man Antoine Billings abused women in City Hall. I have signed statements from a few residents saying how they got tricked into signing the petition. I know someone in here looks over the petition. You can see people double signing the petition, which they names got throughout. But if you don't mind, at the very least, even if it's just for the record, I want to pass these out. These again, if you don't mind, Chair.
Sure. Mr.
These are 4.
Felder, could you assist him in that, please?
Those are 4 signed statements. I wanted to go back with a notary to those residents, but the 6 people that's attempted to recall me, they started trying to tell people that that I was threatening them and all that. So I really didn't want to go back with the notary. So that's what I have, signed statements. This is the guy, Antoine Billings. I just want to show his character. He has open cases right now from stalking women. You know, a lot of the good people of East Cleveland don't realize these 6 people, only 2 of them are within my ward. Again, these are very angry people being led by this guy, Twine Billings, and 2 members of council, Kareem Stevenson and Dr. Pat Blahoviak, who was on our school board, who did terrible things while she was on the school board. You've heard things that I do in the community. I'm pretty sure you hear that a lot. But with me, it's true. All I do is sacrifice for the health, interest, rights, and needs of the people. Again, I really don't know how this go. I have seen a recall get overturned by you guys before. I just want you to realize the underhanded tactics that these 6 people are using. They were confronted in an open council meeting with all of them being present. None of them tried to deny the open-handed tactics. They just started staring hard and started gathering up with each other. I really hate to bring this negativity on the great city of East Cleveland down here to the Cuyahoga County Board, but it's needed. I've been sitting quiet for the past 2.5 years of while these jealous people try to take over the city of East Cleveland, and I will not allow it. They do things like they tried to have a press conference the other day, which I showed up. They lie on me and say that I assault 80-year-old men. They lie on me and say that I transport young girls over state lines in a city car. They say I transported young girls over state lines to Detroit, Michigan to Cleveland. You all probably heard about it. That's me. The car that they referring to can't even make it to Detroit, Michigan. I mean, Detroit on the west side, nonetheless, make it to Detroit, Michigan. And I wasn't charged with any of that garbage that they put out in the community. Again, it's only 6 of them. It's not a real community effort. They went around tricking people to sign the petition. There's also people that signed the petition multiple times. One guy has his signature on the petition twice. And for one, I don't even think he was signing on me, but for 2, he's been in the hospital for the past 2 years. So please, I just want you to take into consideration what you've heard today. Again, I really don't know how this go. I'm fully prepared to go on with the recall election in November, but maybe you will see it in your heart or even just check into some things.
Thank you.
Just check into.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. I appreciate you coming down and speaking to the board. I've got one more request from Ms. Donna Walker Brown would like to address the board. Ms. Walker Brown. Hi, Ms. Donna Walker Brown. Good morning. Would you please state your name for the record and your address?
My name is Donna Walker Brown. My address is 764 East 92nd Street, 7th floor, Cleveland, Ohio, 44108.
Thank you.
I'm here to speak on behalf of Ernest Smith. And I called him Ernest Smith instead of Councilman Smith because I groomed him to be a councilman. I told him one day, you have to be able to sit down and you have to represent the people. You have to be able to talk to them in a calm voice in order to get resources for unforgotten land, East Cleveland. Up into these American resources, the money from the COVID that President Trump set up originally. There was no resources in East Cleveland. It was a wasteland. And I asked Ernest, I said, Ernest, why do you love East Cleveland the way you love East Cleveland? He said, I love East Cleveland because I was raised, born, and bred here. So then I said, Ernie, do you think it's time for you maybe to become a councilman and represent the people? Are you ready for that? He said, I'm ready because I've been trained. And since he took his oath, he has done just that. Now, if you want to blame anybody for him thinking outside the box, as far as the current the strippers. Let's talk about that. Let's put that on the table. You want to blame me because I told him sometimes you got to think outside the box to get poor people resources when you in a forgotten land. This here conflict, confusion is all about politics taking over and not really loving the people. Miss Brodiak, the young lady that was on East Cleveland School Board, she was caught taking mail out of somebody's post box. And I was the one that identified that, and that's how she lost her school board seat. So I'm telling you guys, this here is an internal conflict, almost like a pissing contest. And the people of East Cleveland need you guys to settle this so that this man can continue to provide resources for forgotten. If you go back and think a little bit, up until President Trump put those COVID resources, East Cleveland was getting ready to be annexed to Cleveland. And then all of a sudden it was a stop. And all of a sudden resources started coming to the people. So I'm here to let you know, if you want to blame anybody for him thinking outside the box as far as having the strippers for the fundraiser, then blame me. But I want you to remember this when you think of that stripper incident. They didn't say he didn't use the money for what he said it was affiliated with. That's not what they're saying. They're saying you just didn't like how he got the money. When you're in a community that's poor, poverty stricken, and nobody pays attention, and nobody gives a damn about you and your people, you have to think outside the box to get resources. Do you know them children in East Cleveland? They go hungry if it's not for this man providing clothes. And I'm talking about not when he was a councilman, OPN, Oppressed People's Nation. They was providing clothing, food, socks. These kids go to bed hungry, sometimes wake up hungry, and he's their only lifeline. So I ask you today, think about this recall. Is it necessary? Is it hurting the community? Do they have any registered Ward 3 residents from East Cleveland sitting out here filing this complaint? That's what you think about, the better good of the city. God bless you.
Thank you, Ms. Walker Brown. We appreciate you coming down and sharing your thoughts with the board. Mr. Lott, I just have a question for you. If you could come up, please. And Mr. Pilati, it's just, Mr. Smith commented that he thought some people may have signed twice. I know that the docket information we have here indicates the number of petitions that were, part petitions that were filed, the number of part petitions were filed, the number of signatures that are valid, the number that were invalid, with a total of 243. Is that the purpose of our review? Can you kind of explain what our role is in this?
Brent Alden, manager, Canada Petition Services. So when petitions come in, we give them to the registration department. We put them in the petition module. They go through line by petition, and the system is automatically coding voters as they come through. In the case of somebody coming up on petition number 1, and then the same thing comes up to petition number 2, when it comes up the second time, it's marked as a duplicate. In this case, there were only 2 signers that were signed twice.
Right. Okay.
So the first signature gets counted, the second one's marked as a duplicate.
So that's why we do the review, to make sure duplicates don't get counted. People that sign are actually registered. If they aren't registered, their signatures wouldn't count. And in this case, there was some 75 signatures we said didn't count. Now, this is brought to you because the charter of East Cleveland permits them to bring it to you. Is that correct?
That's
right. And then at some point, Director Pilati, once you've given this information, what do you do as the director of this agency? What are you required to do?
So after the registration department has looked at all the signatures, we will go ahead and they'll provide Brent with that information, where then he puts together a certification form, of which then I am attesting just to the number of valid, invalid signatures that are contained within that document, how many actually part petitions we received. And so we are just verifying that information. And then that information, Brent's department will contact the clerk, in this instance, the clerk of East Cleveland, who will come down, get that information, get that certification form, and take that back to the city. And then they go ahead on their process within City Hall of creating a letter to notify the candidate who's subject of the recall, and provide them with notice of that, and then a window of time set by the charter for them to take action.
And we have that, we have the signature petition certification form in our agenda. We have the response from the clerk of council, Ms. Peters, and we have that certification signed by you in here. So I guess, and I really appreciate y'all coming down, but I think you can see this is a ministerial act on our behalf. It's the charter of the city of East Cleveland permits this to happen. I mean, you know, this process, it involves us because our job is to certify to make sure there's sufficient signatures. But once we do, we tell the clerk notifies Mr. Smith in this case. Mr. Smith, of course, is not going to resign from office, which I understand completely. You sound like a wonderful councilman, Mr. Smith. And then you've made that decision, which I understand. And then our job is simply to say, you know, the process has worked. We've got the signatures. We verified sufficient signatures. The clerk has notified Mr. Smith, and he has refused to. So now we have to do our job and put this issue on the ballot on November 8th. So while I understand your request, we simply don't have the authority. The board simply doesn't have the authority to do what you're asking us to do, which is not certify it. We would be breaking our oath to this state's constitution. So for that reason, I'm not going to be able to vote against the certification. In fact, I will move to certify the East Cleveland member of council Ward 3 recall election issue and establishing a said recall election on November 8th, general election. If there's a second.
Second.
Thank you. Any other question or
I had
comment?
a quick question. So we did get four signatures, but I mean, they're not notarized, but they were brought into question. But it looks like we have 168 that were verified minus the duplicates, correct? It's like according to this form, and 75 that were not. And so these four wouldn't necessarily impact the minimum number needed. I guess what I'm trying to figure that.
Because they need 154.
Okay.
That was my question.
Yeah, all right, so so they need 154, according to the review, 168 were determined valid, 75 were invalid.
It's still, you do those 4 options.
Okay, and so the 4, that was my question, because we did get 4 questionable. Okay, thank you.
And if I could add just another piece to this, as part of this particular process on East Cleveland, the way it begins is with the petitioners going to City Hall, going to the clerk, and the documents are provided to them, and they have a 30-day window to circulate. So it isn't like they create this stuff on their own. It's created by the clerk of council. I do have a copy on of what they sign. And now someone may have said something verbally when they provided it, but when you read the plain language of the document, it's pretty clear on what this is signing for. It is to sign for the recall of Ernest Smith. So
the information's on each petition, because I know that
You are not providing that sheet with the signature when they go out.
Okay, here, all right, thank you, Mrs. Smith. If there are allegations of fraud, okay, if that's what you're saying, that the allegations of fraud, we'll look into that, okay? What's clear is, and I think what Ms. Stickens asking is, hey, even if these 4 people said, take my name off the petition, there's still sufficient number of signatures to certify this matter. So that's a fair question that both the board members were inquiring about, and Mr. Lawler answered. But if it's your position that you believe, you know, that these individuals, and you said it on the record, were misrepresenting matters to people, I'll have Mr. Gallagher reach out to you and any other additional information you have, and then he can reach out to the individuals you claim were doing that and see what their response is, okay? And we'll take it from there. I think that's the appropriate
right.
way to. And Mr. Gallagher will bring whatever resources and staff he needs to assist him with that. So, but regardless, this matter, I mean, I've made a motion to certify, and I believe we have a legal obligation to do so despite your impassioned pleas. And reasons not to, and I have a second. Is there any other question or comment?
Well, I just like to make a comment. You have a lot of support in the community. This isn't a discretion for us, whether or not you're a good councilman. It's just the charter, and we can't control the charter of East Cleveland and sort of just signatures. That's why we asked what the 4 you brought to us. And so, so that's kind of where we're at as a board. But again, Mr. Gallagher will look into your other concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stick. And any other question or comment? Mr. Lawler, thank you. Director Parati. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you again for coming down and commenting and sharing your thoughts with the board. Good luck to you, Mr. Smith. I'll move to certify the write-in candidates for November 8th, 2022 general election. Those individuals are for representative to Congress in District 7, Brian Condenries, Vince McCursey, State Representative, House District 15, Nicholas Phillips, County Executive Mackenzie Lewandowski, and also County Executive Christopher Michael Linowitz. If there's a second.
Second.
Thank you. Any question or comments about the write-ins? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And on to the approval of vouchers. This is the printing. I will move to approve the vouchers as set forth in our agenda to deal with the printing of election day ballots for in-person, vote by mail, test decks, nursing homes, jails, hospital ballots, sample ballots, and cover sheets with Midwest Direct. There's a second.
Second.
Okay, and I just inquired, we've reached out to the SOS and told them we're outsourcing our
Yes, so
printing and notified them of that.
we sure did, because we asked if we could have one board motion cover multiple elections, to which they allowed that. This board did that. But what we have to do, and what Brian has already done, is we now have to submit our plan, which we have, to the Secretary of State. And we're just waiting on their review and approval of that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. And on to the approval of I will move to approve the personnel agenda. Would you comment on that, Mr. Pilati?
Sure. So this upcoming Columbus Day holiday, sometimes we move the observance of the holiday and other times we don't for Columbus Day. The Columbus Day, and sometimes it depends if it falls within the early vote window or not. Here, the Columbus Day holiday is the day before the close of registration for the November 8th election. And most departments, with the exception of the ballot department, election support department, are able to observe the holiday on the set date and not negatively impact the election. However, those two departments do need to do some work for the election process, vote by mail applications. Election support will still be packing supplies. So they would come in. What happens is when that does happen, the non-exempt employees, such as your election officials, they get the holiday pay, and then for every hour they work, they get compensated at time and a half rate for that. However, the managers and assistant managers, they get their holiday pay, and then they accrue straight exchange time or straight comp time for their efforts. And they have sufficient time off already on the books and don't need to accrue anymore. So we would like to, in lieu of them getting that time, we just want to pay them straight rate time for their service.
And I'm assuming they're just happy with that.
I would say it's the best of a bad situation that they're coming in on a holiday, but it eases the pain a little bit. Yeah.
It eases the pain. I get it. So I will move to approve the personnel agenda that deals with the Columbus Day holiday and also compensation for those that are unfortunately required to work on that day off for most other people. If there's a second.
Second.
Thank you. Any other question or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have a walk-on agenda item also that I oversaw. It is Directive 2022-43, dealing with the ballots and statewide candidates for the November 8th, 2022 general election. It sets forth the certified form of the ballots, the name of the candidates, the language for statewide issues, and other matters which appear on the ballot on November 8th. If there's a second.
Second.
Thank you. Any question or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, thank you. And under new business, do we have anything, Mr. Collado?
Not really, other than, for the September 13th election, everything is in order for that. We have received 0 early in-person voters at this point, and we've received 5 vote by mail applications. So we're on top of that.
Excuse me, that's Berea?
That's for Berea, Berea Ward 1. So things are in order for that. And then regarding November 8th, with this directive, Brian is now importing and will lay out the ballot, start that whole proofing process over the next couple of weeks for that. The poll worker department has reached out and sent their initial notification to workers, and I think had a positive response. About 50% of the individuals, almost 2,000 people, said, yeah, we want to work in November. So we're off to a good start there, with 70 people being interested in that refer a friend that we had talked about at the last time. So that's good. And things are just moving along in that direction.
When is the Berea election?
September 13th.
Okay. And you'll, okay, keep us posted. Well, we're meeting one time before then on the 12th.
Right. So at that meeting, we'll actually come into session for the election. And we will, and I'm not sure when, we're going to probably have to add an additional meeting to certify that election, because the October one will be, I think, a little too far out.
We may need 2 meetings, one to approve any provisionals, right?
What I'm hoping
Oh, we could do it all.
is that, yeah, we'll have no provisionals, or we would just do one of those ones where we
And then
split
take a
it.
break.
Yeah.
Great. Anything else?
At this point, I think that's about it, unless there's any questions, I think.
I don't have any. Thank you, Mr. Kelly, for following up with Mr. Smith. We do have a couple public comments. I don't know if Miss Reverend Pinckney is on. Are you online, Miss Pinckney? Miss Pinckney?
Yes.
She doesn't seem to be online. Okay. All right, then we have Mr. Dantes Taylor. Mr. Taylor, can someone assist Mr. Taylor, please? Thank you, sir. She actually want to speak on these screen recall for that. I mean, Miss Pinckney did. No, she isn't. Thank you, Mr. White. And thank you, Mr. Taylor, for coming down. Mr. White will be right there if you need anything. Okay, Mr. Taylor, why don't you state your name and address and address the board.
My name is Dantes Taylor, and my address is 12202 Gay Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio 44105.
What would you like to say to the board, Mr. Taylor?
My name is Dantes Taylor, and I would like to say that on city council charter and on city council charter, it says that city council cannot hold 2 positions, like Deborah Grace hold 2 positions for, she's the precinct person and she's the council person. And in the charter, it says that they don't put to hold 2 positions in the city council charter. And I'm trying to make sure that that is on the records, that they don't post it, have these 2 positions. Because some of them are the ward leader in on the Democratic Party or on wherever. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to be fair across the board for our people out here. And thank you. And God bless you and have a nice day.
Mr. Taylor, thank you for coming down. We appreciate you.
All right. We got everything across the board.
Thank you, sir. Any board members have any other questions or comments? Then should we recess? Because we got the election. No, we're going to recess on the 12th.
Right.
All right, then I will move to adjourn if there's a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right. Have a wonderful Labor Day weekend, everybody.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Yeah, right.
No, traveling family.
Oh, where you at?
You go to Cook's Forest, there you go.
Where is that?
Clary, Allegheny National Forest.